So my name is Rose Alchemisi. I'm a personal branding consultant and LinkedIn strategist. I also do ghostwriting. I help executives and entrepreneurs with their personal brand on LinkedIn. And with me today is an amazing person, and I would consider her a mentor of mine. She's taught me a lot, and I'm so excited to share the stage with her. So without further ado, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Awesome. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And yes, thank you. I am Tanya MFK. I do see that we have some familiar faces in there. Lovely to see you, virtually see you in here. And yeah, so Tanya MFK, it's Tanya Marie Figueres Kreisinger, in case you're like, what is that? It's too hard to say, too difficult to spell. So I go by Tanya MFK, and I am a business coach that focuses on business simplified, joy multiplied type of approach. And we build your business around the ideal life that you want and not the other way around. So all of our tactics and strategies are built on honesty, transparency, and human honoring approaches. So excited to share with you guys kind of a modern twist on some of the old beliefs of how we do business.
Thank you for that introduction. And yeah, guys, so today's topic, if you haven't or if you don't already know, it's introduction to email marketing and how to start building your list. So this is an intro mini course, I would say, that Tanya is going to walk us through. And I've asked her specifically to talk about this topic. So I'm really excited. I've prepared some questions. So let's get into it. So what strategies, Tanya, can we start using to effectively start building our list, especially when we don't have one?
The first thing I'd like to talk about before we dive into strategy specific type things, because those won't mean much until we go back and strip away this mystery idea of audience building or list building. All we're really trying to do is meet people who say, hey, the stuff you're talking about, that seems really helpful. I really like it. How can I get more of that? But the truth is, most people won't ask you that question. And so we need to tell them. We need to tell them what to do next. So we can call that audience building. We can call it email list building. But sometimes I think we overthink that when we're using the terminology, when we're getting stuck in like, but I don't know what that is. But you know what we do know how to do? We know how to show up and say, hey, I really liked hanging out with you. Would you like to hang out again? Maybe we could go for coffee. But we're doing that same thing in business every day. Everyone talks about how it's relationship. But I think we get mixed up and we go, well, then I have to tell them about my dog and the latte I had and all of those things. But the relationship is going, how am I showing up as a valuable asset in their life? So if we take this back down into the business spectrum, you're showing up on social media or you're showing up on any other chosen platform in a digital sense. I assume everyone here is mainly online businesses, right? If you're brick and mortar, it might be slightly different for you, but in the end, we're all out there trying to be discovered. Okay. That's all we're really doing. We're out there in the void of the world and the chaos of it and all of this, the feeds, or we're showing up on Medium or we're showing up on Substack and we're in all these different places. And we're just hoping that someone goes, hey, wow, I liked that. I liked that. And then we got to go, well, why did they like it? What did they like about it? Now, my theory and my what I teach my clients is show up with something of value. Be of value. When they scroll past your post or your piece of information, I always tell people, and this may be a note you want to take, is that that thing that you put out should elicit one of three responses. One of three responses. And it should be, wow, I didn't know that, which means you just educated them. So we educate, okay? One of the three, you don't have to hit all three, right? So remember that. So one, wow, I did not know that, so you educated them. Or wow, I'm going to try that. You just taught them something, you activated them. Or wow, I needed to hear that, and you motivated them. And if your post, and that doesn't matter what it's about, it can be about soap, it can be about cakes, it can be about financial planning. I'm telling you, it can be, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I needed to hear that. Or wow, I'm going to try that. And if your information out there is not eliciting one of those three responses, you're not going to get to the next step, which is the email building that we want to talk about. I could share all the amazing strategies right now, but if we don't remember this core part of how and why we're showing up, the rest of it doesn't make sense.
But yeah, I would have to agree with that because I tell my clients that, the three types of content that work well on LinkedIn is educational, motivational, inspirational. So, to your point about, oh, wow, I didn't know that that's an educational content, they stop scrolling and they read it and they get value out of it, and therefore they start to build loyalty to you, like they start to follow you because you have something of value to offer, right? And this is what we're talking about here as well. So
Absolutely.
when it comes to start having that private conversation. Like I like what you said. You use the analogy of like, you're in a concert. So when I'm on LinkedIn, it feels like, I'm in a concert and there's all these people, but I want to have a private conversation with someone. But it's too loud in the concert. So I want to bring it, to a coffee chat. So how do we transition from that place of, a loud concert to, hey, let's talk. I have something I want
Absolutely.
to share with you. Yeah.
Yeah, let's dive into that. So there's a couple little things we'll do that. So let me recap kind of what Rose was saying. Is I always tell people, we're out there on social media, and let's be honest, just like you're showing up and listening today, there are several other people listening to a ton of other people. The unfortunate part is that 90% of them are just regurgitating the same information that's been in business for the last 10 to 15 years, with a couple of changes because of ChatGPT and whatnot. But other than that, it's the same old stuff. And so what we want to look at is go, look, what's happening when we show up is it's a lot of people shouting. It's like a loud concert. We've all come to see the same thing. And we might all be enjoying it. We're not going to be competitive, but we're all there and everyone's kind of like, hey, this is great too. Hopefully I'm not shouting in your ear right now. But I really like this band. And you're like, what? I can't hear you. I really like this band. Oh, something about a band. And finally someone goes, you know what? Can we just go somewhere quieter and chat a little bit? That's what you're doing. That is what you're doing when you're offering to say, hey, you like this stuff? Is this helpful? I could show up in your inbox regularly, or I could give you a piece of information that could really help you get started on this thing I just talked about, right? Some people would call that a lead magnet, right? This transition from the place we've discovered each other, from the place where we're still somewhat strangers or maybe familiar with each other, we need to move from that place into the quiet place. And so, too often, entrepreneurs are seeing somebody and go at a coffee shop and saying, hey, that person looks great. I mean, that person probably they're my style, they're my everything, right? So you might look at your avatar and go, oh, they're hitting all the checkbooks, they're definitely a perfect client. So you walk up to them, they don't know you, and you go, hey, I noticed you from across the way, I want to know if you want to get married. And then they look at you like you're crazy and they click that unsubscribe, or they do not click it or whatever else, because they're like, what are you doing? What are you saying? Why are you showing up asking me to get married? We need to build the relationship. Now, here's the thing, out there in the world where you're discovering, that's beautiful. Unless you own LinkedIn, and if you do, welcome. Thanks for coming to my talk today, or Facebook or Instagram, hi, Mark, any of those things that you're out there and you own it. If you don't own it, then you're not in charge of what is shown to your clients. They can change the rules at any moment. The closest thing that you can do to owning your space offline, or not offline, but away from those places, is in email. Email is one of the few places where the ROI continually goes up. Back in 2016, when Facebook ads were the thing, people were just screaming to the mountaintops how amazing this ROI is, huge, you can do all this stuff. But that changed and it went significantly down. And yet, email, which was there way before Facebook ads or anything else, continually goes up. It used to be for every dollar you put into email marketing, you can look at a $38 return. It's gone now up over the past couple of years. From every dollar you put in is now a $42 return. It's one of the few places where you can get out of that loud concert, come into the quiet place in that space of email. It's the one place where you can show up and somebody else who paid more doesn't get to swipe your audience's attention. It's the one place where if they say, I want to hear from you, and you send them something, they get it. Barring that you've done good practices to not get caught up in any spam filters, then they get it. But here's the thing, when you're out there on social media, when you're out there in Substack, Medium, any of those places, even if they've clicked to follow you, even if they have said, this is the person I want to hear from, if the platform decides that something else is more important or someone has paid more for their attention, that is who gets it, period. And email is one of the few places left where you can have that power.
Yeah, that's why I mean, it's becoming more apparent to me as I do this whole social media thing that building a list is paramount. Now, the question is, what would incentivize somebody to move from LinkedIn? It's like, hey, but we're talking here. Why should I follow you over there, right? So what are some things that would be like, so I know that, a lot of people on LinkedIn, for example, they have newsletters. So that's one thing. Beyond a newsletter, I'm just wondering what type of items would incentivize somebody to be like, okay, yeah, I'll join you in a private conversation.
Gotcha. Okay. So here's the thing. No piece of any particular piece of that is going to be the magic thing that does it. It's not going to be your workshop. It's not going to be your 12-point checklist. It's not going to be an ebook. It's all of those things can work, but none of them are the magic button. So the first thing I'll say about that is that what you need to do is say whatever you've been putting out, it needs to connect both to what you've put out there, like the piece of content that they've discovered, whatever your conversation online is, it needs to connect to that, and it needs to connect to your product. So let me give an example. We had a client years ago, just a health coach, right? Relatively straightforward. We all can understand health, right? To the degree, whether we practice it or not is something different, but we understand it. And so as a health coach, she was talking a lot about all different types of things. And of course, some were asking about weight loss and some were asking about healthy eating. And the truth is it was just a conglomeration of health. So if somebody was to say, hey, what does this gal do who's been following her? They might just go, I don't know, health stuff. And that was unfortunate because the truth was that she actually was all about meal prepping. But because it was so convoluted and just so many different things, now you can have content on different topics, but it should all come back to your core thing if your thing is meal prepping. And her actual product was meal prepping. So she was out there talking about all kinds of different things. And then she ran a smoothie challenge. And at the end of her smoothie challenge, she she popped the question, if you will, to sell her meal prepping course. Guess how many people who opted for her lead magnet, right? Get her offline, right? So they got them offline and we got them into a challenge, which was an email. And then she popped the, question to say, what about my meal planning? And I think maybe she had like 2 signups because the journey didn't make sense. So this is the thing I want to say is before we go into some of those details, I can throw up and go, well, hey, an ebook's a really good idea. And then you're going to go, okay, I'll make an ebook. Let me do that. But it's really going, wait, well, what continues the conversation? So what you're talking about, if you're out there and maybe, I don't know, I don't think we have like feedback here we can find out, but give an idea, maybe Rose, of like, what are some of the titles of like what industries are people in here? So maybe I can give some tangible examples. Do we have any ideas?
Wellness, fitness, um, executives in, working in the social media sphere, actually, marketing, people in marketing.
Perfect. Okay, that helps. Well, and I have a few familiar faces here, so I'll use some of their examples. So for some of you who might be in the consulting space, right? You're in consulting, or maybe you're in the uh, diversity and inclusion space or psychological safety and kind of in that executive corporate coaching area. And you're trying to establish your own business or something out there. And you may have a core product that's some sort of high performing teams type of product, right? So your content out there should ideally consistently be educating, right? One of those 3 things. Wow, I needed to know that. Wow, I'm going to try that. Wow, I didn't know that. So you should be educating them about high performing teams, talking to them about things they may not know or things they could try, things that motivate those HR managers when they're having a tough time. So then when you go, someone's going, man, I love every time I'm seeing these posts, like this person's awesome. I'm really feeling it. What's the next step? And so the question is, well, you tell me what's the next step. If someone has been consuming that and they go, gosh, this is really helpful, then that person could say, well, what if I had create your, increase your team's performance in these 10 steps? Oh, well, that's amazing. It sounds like a great checklist, right? Or create your high performing team with this very short ebook. Now, I'm going to give a quick lesson about lead magnets, right? The transition from giving them something of value in exchange for an email. That's all we're talking about right now, right? Value. It needs to be something useful. But there is a rule. This, if you haven't heard this, write it down. SAGE, SAGE. If you're going to make a lead magnet, it needs to be short. Okay, that's the first one. Short, no 47-page ebooks. A lot of us really want to over deliver, but it's got to have value. It's got to have value. But the risk involved with that is I don't know you yet. And even though you gave me a 4-part workshop
Apart.
series, the risk is I spend 4 hours to find out it was pointless. I am not ready to spend that much time with you yet. So instead of asking me to get married in the coffee shop, you said, hey, I think you're my style. Would you like to go 3 days to Tahiti? And even if you really do want to go to Tahiti, might be dangerous, might not be what you want to say yes to the stranger to go and do that yet. You want to take it slow. So short, all right, short, that's the S. A, actionable. It needs to be something that gives them a definitive thing that they can take action in. So if it's like the full email marketing ebook, right? Let's say I gave that all to you guys today. Well, that's great. And maybe you could dive into it. But what if I said, write your first email nurture sequence, or the four email nurture sequence for every one of your opt-ins, right? Like that, all of a sudden I could write. I know that if I get that, I will have an email nurture sequence ready for my opt-ins. That's actionable. That gives me something tangible. All right. So your full book of the whole part of your industry to understand that you're offering, it probably is really valuable and really helpful, but it's too soon. So we need short, we need actionable, and we need goal oriented, which is what I was just saying, actionable, right? So again, actionable too is we want something that's, well, okay, I'm going to stick with it. I keep going on tangents here. So short, actionable, goal oriented, and easy to consume and easy for you to create. It matters for you too. All right. It needs to be easy because the thing you need to understand is that marketing is not a final destination. It is a series of testing.
Mm.
Once the series, yeah, you like that, huh? Right? Once the series of testing proves itself well, you now have a funnel and a system, right? That's now something you can scale. But until then, marketing is simply just testing. Marketing is not what's this marketing strategy that's going to work. Because the thing is, it's just like I'm going to use a plant as an example real quick. And I promise we'll get to some strategies today, but I want to make it really clear because the truth is most of these things are inside of you. Most of these things, you guys actually know what you could make. If you simply were just able to go, oh, it's not that complicated. I'm talking about this. My next thing should be telling them this, right? I can give you all this stuff, but it's so special and unique to what you can do and create, and doesn't have to be like everyone else shouting at the concert. You can say, "Here's my unique thing that I've brought to the table." So short, actionable, goal-oriented, easy to create for you, easy for them to consume. That's what we want. And then from there, we can talk about the different vehicles those could be in. Could they be in a video? Sure. There's a short one. Is it actionable? Is it goal-oriented? Is it easy to consume? If it takes them, so here's a good example, any of the health coaches out there, 7-day meal thing, like do your 7-day, sorry, what is it? Like meal journal, right? That's a thing that's very typical. Not necessarily easy for everyone to do. Okay, that's a lot at first. Maybe it was a single day one that they could do. Maybe it's something I saw one that was incredible. It was like increase your sales 72% with this 9-minute script. Number 72%, 9-minute script. I knew how long it was going to be to consume. So you're asking me, sorry, going back to this, Rose, you asked me like, what are some things we could do to make sure that they actually want it to be, they want to give my email for this. Can I see what's in it for me immediately? If I need to create a lead magnet and you make a lead magnet called How to Create Your Lead Magnet in 30 Minutes, I can see what's in it for me. I'm going to create my lead magnet and no less than 30 minutes. I like it. That's for me. They don't care about you yet. They appreciate you maybe a little bit. They don't care about you yet. What's in it for them? And that's okay. They need to care about them. We should be caring about them too, because that's who we should be there for. So what's in it for them? If we can be clear about what's in it for them. So again, anyone who's using like discovery calls, I have a very short thing on our YouTube channel, some of the things about discovery calls. But my main thing is nobody's excited about a discovery call. Nobody's like, oh, I can discover. What does it even mean? I know what it means, and I'm just giving you a hard time, okay? But what does it mean? Is anyone like, oh, I have a discovery call today? I'm so excited. Like, no, they're not. But if you say, I have a call today and they're going to tell me the 3 things I need to do to fix this house, I'm excited. I mean, maybe hopefully excited. The house is really messed up. You might at least looking forward to the outcome. Hey, I have a call with an email coach today, and they said they'll be able to tell me a couple things I could do to tweak the campaign I'm on. Right? It's all the same. In the night, we're all consulting, we're all chatting with them, but start telling them exactly what's in it for them. Demystify what's going to happen. So if we were to take that whole question, Rose, that you asked and consolidate it to one thing right there, demystify what's going to happen. Tell them exactly what's in it for them. Tell them how long it's going to take. Tell them what they'll walk away with. And if you can be clear with that, okay, and I want you to hear this, clear over clever. If you're going to tell me I'm going to feel empowered after I read this, I don't know that that's tangible enough. If I'm going to walk away with a mantra that I can use every day to make me empowered, maybe that's a little more tangible, right? So demystify what's really in it for them. Don't be clear, don't be clever, don't be cute, be clear. This is exactly what it is.
Thank you for that very comprehensive answer. I just wanted to backtrack a little bit about because this is so vital, what you said about the customer journey. And this is, I think, the make or break, like essentially of like understanding your customer or client and understanding what would take to make the journey intuitive, right? Now, I just wanted to clarify something. So let's say you service different customers in different industries. Essentially, for example, like somebody like me who's in personal branding. So the customer, irrespective of the customer's background, the customer journey would be the same because it's like essentially I'm helping them with the same thing, which is personal branding. Or do I think about it more broadly to try to make sure I cover people in different industries? What do you have to say about that?
No, I love that. It's an excellent question. So there's a couple of things to look at this. If you're in a space where you have a single industry but multiple products, your first goal is for you to clarify what I like to call is just really the umbrella. What is the core destination purpose or existence of the business? And you may have 4 or 5 different products that facilitate that core thing. Maybe your thing is about let's get generic, right? Because I think if it's really specific, it's easy. Like, oh, this is this fix faucets and this one's to fix a sink and overall I'm a plumber. That's great. But for other places where they might go, well, I think like this one's helping beginners or this one's helping this and I'm not sure because I'm kind of like this one's like more of a mental health piece and this one's more of a business piece. Well, maybe your whole core is about simplifying business. Maybe your whole core is about mental health and business. So even though they're separate in the products, your umbrella of your business can now have that. So now we're targeting at least a similar audience, right? That's the first thing. Second, if you have an umbrella thing, then you may have an umbrella lead magnet. So in an example, one of my colleagues, Ben Hardy, wrote about many different things. So he's a psychologist, author. So he was writing about anything from entrepreneurship to psychology to, 10x performance, all that kind of stuff. And so the kind of overarching thing, his umbrella was upgrading your life. And so he had a lead magnet for all of his content that said, didn't matter what he was talking about, because in some general sense, he was going to be talking about upgrading your life. So at the end of it, it said, want to upgrade your life? Get my 8 things to do before 8 a.m. checklist. And that grew a general audience. General. Now we know a little bit about what they might be interested in, but we don't know that much. So it's beneficial in growing your audience. Yes. Downside of that particular funnel, if you will, is that we don't know a lot about them, what they really want yet, right? Because it's just been really kind of a generic catch-all. They want to improve their life. Like that tells me a little bit, but I don't know which product of mine might be best for them. So the other part for you to consider, now remember, this is single industry, multiple products, is a per product client journey. Every one of your products should have its own client journey. Now, it doesn't mean that some of the things you've already created, email nurture sequences, lead magnet, can't double duty. It just means that you need to understand that maybe the email has a little tweak to speak to them, right? I'll give another example in that, which is I do a lot of work in neuroscience. So I have a background in applied neuroscience, and I have one that a workshop that's called neuroscience for entrepreneurs. And then we have a workshop that's called neuroscience for happy people, neuroscience for productivity. It's all the same core basics of neuroscience. All I do is switch the audience and switch a little more about the details I'm giving them. For entrepreneurs, they're going to go, yeah, let's talk about, when you're dealing with email marketing, they're like, yeah, I know it's crazy. But if I say that to a bunch of moms who don't do entrepreneurship, they're going to be like, yeah, don't feel you there. But if I say, hey, when you're feeling down and out, changed too many diapers, this is how we can get motivated. But the core principles are the same. Now, multiple industries. If you're in multiple industries, then at this point, we have a much bigger issue, right? And it's not bad, it's possible, but we need to understand what that means. Is it core, completely separate businesses? Are we servicing the same type of avatar, but we have different products? So it's a bit of a different spin if they're completely different industries. Do you have an example, Rose, or anything specific, or did that cover it? Because if there's something specific, I can go into it.
Yeah, like because you asked me earlier about like who do I service, and I do service people in different industries. So, but like the I guess umbrella, if could put them in two categories, it would be executives and entrepreneurs. But as we know, executives come from different backgrounds, and entrepreneurs come from different backgrounds. So, fitness, wellness, career coaches, etc. So, all like it can be daunting to think about all these different people in different industries and be like, okay, how do I create a product for them that would, cover. So I'm not like spending too much time catering to every niche or every industry, but I'm like trying to cover everybody with personal branding more or less in the same way without spending too much time on, individualizing each thing.
No, I love that. No, okay. So we're talking about the audience themselves may be in in different industries, but this goes back to that same umbrella, right? Like you said, the core umbrella, you'll need to get to that to go to. It doesn't matter if they're entrepreneurs, if they're executives, or if this is what I'm showing you. And so there's a lovely thing that Seth Godin talks about. If you guys aren't familiar with him, definitely get familiar with him. But he has a great book called Tribes. And one of the things he explains in that about leadership is that being a leader is simply looking at a destination, typically one that we personally want to be in, right? Like I was tired of business being overcomplicated. I was tired of being shouted the same tactics. So I was like, I don't want to be in that world. I want to be in a world where and you can't see me, but I'm pointing off to the side right now. And I'm pointing off to the side going, I want to be over there. I want to be over there in a world where we build our lives first. And we go, this is how I want to live. What kind of business will fit? And how will business fit around the life I want to live? And what if we took this approach differently? That's where I want to go. So then I started telling people, you know where I want to go? I want to go to a place that looks like that, where life looks like that. So Rose, you might say, I want to create a place where it's simple for people who want this result, right? People who want personal branding. Maybe simplicity isn't your thing, right? Maybe it's like, I want people who want, powerful results in 30 days, right? She has to figure out what her umbrella is. What's her thing? And it doesn't matter where they're at if they want the same thing. Now, when you hire the person, I'm sorry, when the person hires you, the path that you may help a personal branding who's a coach versus someone who's an executive or their LinkedIn development, the path will be different, but the end result is still the same. All right. So that's the first part. The second part then is going to be a couple things. Either one, you're going to have hyper segmented campaigns. Now, for those of you just starting in business, that is just not necessary. There's ideal and there's reasonable. Okay. It's just not reasonable. You don't need to run and I'll tell you this right now. I have a client who's been with me for about 3 years now. And 3 years of really, honestly, of our time has been taking her down from running her business like it's Google. Okay. Like she was doing all the things everybody told her, every system, complicated click funnels. I mean, going through amazing stuff, but so difficult for a solopreneur to manage that it was drowning in those systems and great ideas and tactics. So coming down and simplifying that and going, okay, so then if I have different audiences, I could make it generic. Oh, but there's a problem there. Generic, if we're talking to everyone, we're talking to no one. So darn it, what do I do? This is my suggestion for that. Just tell in that particular content piece who you're talking to. That's it. Just say, hey, executives, ever know when it feels like this or that happens? Hey, entrepreneurs, if I'm following you and one of your posts isn't for me, I'm not going to go, oh, well, that's terrible. Get her out of here. Unfollow, right? She's given me helpful information every post, but now this one is not for me. Get out. Come on. That doesn't happen. If we like the person, we understand that they brought value. If one of their posts is for something that's not relevant to me, now that's we're not talking about some divisive thing or that you're showing up and telling them your favorite chicken wing or something. But what we are doing is just going, look, this I have this core, this audience, and it mixes to tell them who it's for. Tell them who it's for, or segment it. Hey, if you're an entrepreneur, this is really help you with this. If you're doing this, and again, it's going to depend per content piece.
Brings me to my other question. So you brought up segmentation. So that's actually the question that I wanted to ask you. So when it comes to emailing, now okay, you got the lead magnet in place, people signed up for it. How do you start to segment the different audiences that you've, and also like just to backtrack a little bit. So a lot of the times, for example, like couple of weeks ago, I gave like a freebie, right? And people like signed up for it with their email, but beyond their email, I did not know anything about them. I have no idea who just signed up. So it's how do you start to segment and clarify who is that that's signing up if you have limited knowledge about who they are in the first
Yes,
place?
yes, yes. So I'm chomping at the bit now when you ask this one. So as we're moving into email, when we're talking about segmentation and in general, when we're talking about our marketing, your marketing needs to filter for the right person. You need to be saying any specific qualifications, and it can be as blatant as if you're a person doing this and this this is who I help, right? But it may be so Rose said other beyond their name, I don't really, other than their email, I don't know much about them. What was the lead magnet, Rose?
It was about LinkedIn strategies.
Okay, so the one thing I know is they clearly are interested in LinkedIn strategies. They probably
Yes.
don't know a lot about LinkedIn strategies. If they did, they wouldn't be downloading that. It also tells me that they're probably using LinkedIn as one of their strategies. They're probably in business because if I wouldn't look up LinkedIn strategies if I'm not in business. I kind
Mm,
of know a lot about them already, Rose.
absolutely, but it's like, sometimes people just want a freebie because it's a freebie. You know what I mean? And that doesn't necessarily mean they're willing to like invest and like pay for your services or whatever. So it's like that's the other thing.
Okay, so there's a lot there. So yes. So let's go to a couple of these things. First, when we're getting at someone who's got lead magnet. So now we've talked a little bit about discovery, how you get discovered, where we're making some mistakes there, how we can demystify, simplify, show up effectively, but also understanding while that's all great, we create amazing content. In the end, our goal is actually to move them from that platform and move them into our own world. And right now, when you're in an online business, your email is the most of an online world you have. For a few of you who might have communities that like on off of Facebook and stuff like that, where you pay for and you're not subject to algorithms and all of that, then you may be in a similar space, and that's just a slightly nuanced, but you still need email, even if that's your business model. Just throwing that out there, because you need to create the relationship for people who continue to join that community. As the people are you're removing them off of this space, they're going, yeah, I want to hang out with this person more, right? That's all they're saying in their lead magnet. I want more information. I like what they've said enough that I'm willing to hear their thing. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the process, the technical process of them actually opting in. There are, depending on the platform you use, options to set up questions that when they're opting in for your newsletter, like, are you an entrepreneur? Or are you interested in this? Or what's your biggest challenge? That's one way to segment. The other part is really going to be the more specific your lead magnet is, the more specific you'll be able to segment them. And it may even be segmented by the name of your lead magnet. Oh, these are all the people who opted in for the challenge. These are the people who opted in for my email marketing thing. So that tells us a lot about who these people are, right? They're one interested in what that is. It's part of their strategy. They want to know more about it. So we understand what that is. Now, the other part, just because they got it doesn't mean they're ready. They're going to do it ready to invest. They just want the freebie. Well, I don't think any of us are against freebies, right? If they seem valuable enough. Now, I also think that if anything doesn't sound valuable enough, there are things that all of us have turned down where someone tried to hand us, right? Here's a flyer. Nope, don't need it. Okay, just because it was free, I wasn't interested. But if it sounds interesting enough, I may take that freebie. That freebie is them accepting a coffee date with you. They're not accepting marriage. They're not saying they're going to date with you. They're not going to Tahiti with you yet. They just said they'll have coffee. So any expectation that that coffee should immediately lead to marriage is premature on all of our parts. There are other marketers who will tell you that there are tons of tactics. We can put some countdown timers. We can play with some stuff. We can push them to a 72-hour. Yes, we can. We can. And you might get that sale. Not know if they'll be around any longer. They got it because they got the sale. They didn't know you yet. They didn't buy it because you were so amazing. They didn't buy it because it made sense on paper for the monetary transaction. That was a transactional relationship. They're not there for you. So you're right. They won't necessarily do it right away, but all of those things can help. All of those things can be done. But you have to decide also, is that the actual model for your business? Now, for some of us, it could make sense. I have seen respectful campaigns go out where somebody will put out and they'll go, get my $7 thing, and it's kind of a small push, But again, you got to understand, what is the goal here? There's a thing that we say in at least my industry and my businesses, which is business coaching, that a hot lead is 90 days, 2 years. That's your hot lead. I had a client just this year who came onto my email list in 2018. And the only time that I heard from this person was when I spelled something wrong in my newsletter. Okay. And she joined this year. I really thought, I was like, this person's nuts. I mean, this is just someone who will always be in my inbox, and that's okay. It was totally fine. But you just don't know what relationship you're building when you show up there often. And so to measure a campaign success by how many quick, you got to go, is the success about the sale, or is it about audience building? And we have to look at our metric. And there are different things. Absolutely. If our goal is to create a certain type of conversion, we probably are going to have a different path. But if we are doing a standard path like this, where the focus is audience building, then we measure it by the growth of the audience, not by conversion. Then we can discuss, well, what is, once they've come on, and this is, I think, an interesting transition right now too. So let's just recap again. They've discovered you. You guys have decided to have a quieter decision. They said yes to the coffee date. They got their thing. Now, they got their thing. That does not mean they consumed it. They just got it. They had the intention. Now, perfect thing. Anyone who teaches any productivity or time development, do you think they're going to read it? That's their struggle. That's their actual struggle. Think about that. All right. How can you support them now that they're in your email and in a quieter space of that fact that they may not have done it? How can we move forward to the next step? Now, what they downloaded, we know something about. Continue that conversation. Now, this is what a marketer would call your post opt-in nurture sequence, right? Or your welcome nurture sequence. So now they've come in, they've got your freebie. That's not where it doesn't end there. And that's not where we start hounding them either. Remember, they just came to the coffee with us. So now it's time to start dating. What do I talk about? Oh, what do I talk about? Well, the good starting point is the lead magnet. They just, it's the one thing you have in common right now. So you can go, how was that? How was it? Did you read page 12? That's my favorite part. This is where I outline how to write an email welcome nurture sequence. That one you should really check out, right?
It's like being on a blind date. Like you're just literally just you only have one point of reference to go off of,
Yes.
right?
And what
Yeah.
a wonderful point of reference, though. You know something that they need support in. Ideally, based if you've done your lead magnet right, you've crafted it right to fill a need. You've already filtered for the right person by the nature of not both your content and your lead magnet. The right person should be in your inbox. So now it's just a matter of having the conversation. Now, now this is just because I promised some kind of tangible strategy, right? This is just a basic framework, all right? So nobody go, what? This isn't working. Basic framework, 3 to 4 emails after somebody comes into your lead magnet, okay? The first one should be, here's your thing. That's it. You don't write it that way, but here's your thing. Subject line, because I know, Rose, you also asked, like, how do we make sure they're clicking on it? Or everyone, they got my freebie, but no, they didn't open it, right? That's another thing. Did you write? This is the first email they ever got from you. Did you actually write that this was the thing they asked for? Because maybe they don't know that your business name was Okie Dokie. Okay. Maybe they didn't know that you're Tanya or you're Rose. So if you write your download in the subject line, or your, checklist you requested, I kind of go, oh, that was the thing I asked for. Got it. Tell me, just here's your thing. Do not overload that first email with 500 other things about you. We want them to get the thing and ideally read the thing. That's the first email. Okay. Second email. is what I like to call a value email. Value plus soft pitch or a value. Value email means that it should not be pushing them from anything other than something that is helpful. So typically, it would be an expansion on whatever your lead magnet was about. So if Rose had one on personal branding and all the stuff was in there, she might expand a little bit about one of the points on that checklist and say, on point 3, we talked a little about this. Let me give you a couple more tips on how you might craft that because I'm continuing to be useful. Now, I may not have read it. I didn't read it. Oh, sorry, Rose didn't get to it yet. But I got her second email and she's already helping me. Like, oh, that's a good tip. Oh, I should really get and read that darn thing. It's another good reason. Third email. Tell me where I'm at, what's happening. This is what we call the indoctrination email. Let them know, hey, by the way, we're glad you're here. This is what we do around here. This is what you'd expect for the newsletter. This is kind of the things that we do. Now, that's a short one, a 3. You can also do a 4, right? So you can do a 4. Now, of course, people have 90-day nurture sequences, and I'm not against that. But again, I'm here to simplify this, to go, if you are one of my colleagues who has a 90-day, he also has a $10 million business. Okay. So when you're there, do that. But right now, simplify it. 3 emails minimal at least, because then once they've done that, they've learned, they've gotten some help, they've gotten your freebie. Now they're on your list. Now you can start nurturing them. That's what nurturing is going, how are we continuing this conversation about what I do and how I support you? Now that's a whole other one of these Saturdays, right? Like that's a whole other thing we can dive into, and you guys always come visit me on a Thursday in our sessions too. But this is kind of essentially the process, right? Is that when we're coming in from who the heck are you to, wow, this person's giving me value. What else could I get? And then we go, well, here's a freebie. And you go, that's awesome. Cool. Oh, I read it. I didn't read it. So that first couple emails should really just be encouraging and the reading of the thing or the consuming of the thing, giving them some value in that sequence, and ideally telling them what you do. And in a 4-part sequence for me, it would usually go, here's your thing, value, what the second value, which I call value plus soft pitch, which means at the bottom of that, I would suggest they do another thing, right? Like follow us on YouTube or book a call with me. And then the fourth one is what I call a full direct ask. And a full direct ask is just my way of saying, I don't pretend to be talking about anything else. I do know one of those infamous where they're pretending to write a blog about their life, but it's just a 3-hour pitch about their product at the end. I don't do that. This one is just says, when you're ready, here are 4 ways we can work together and how we can support you. We do this, 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 and this, because they may not know actually what we do. And if they leave at that point, they weren't going to buy anyway. We want them to go if they don't belong, and that's okay. No is information. No is next one. No is next opportunity. It is not a rejection of you. It's a rejection that, oops, I'm in the wrong space. Okay. I meant to go to the vegan restaurant and I'm at the steakhouse.
It's like that Ariana song, Thank You Next.
Yes, there you go. Exactly.
You you
And
want them to go. It's like, okay, thanks. You're not interested. I'm not interested either. Let's move on.
exactly. We want them to be in the right place. And again, it's great. No is information. No is them going, oh, this isn't for me, actually. And I have done that. I have downloaded things. I've gone on someone's email list and been like, oh, I kind of like this. And then a couple emails, I'm like, I'm not into that. Or maybe their approach is different, or maybe just their personality. I had someone who's just real. I mean, I'm an energetic person, but it was so sunshine and rainbows. I was like, I can't read this anymore. Like I'm getting diabetic reading this, so I can't do it. And so I had that. I've had people I genuinely enjoy and go, I just have too much in my inbox right now. I've got to take a break. So do not try to interpret that unsubscribe to any change for your business unless we get a lot. We talk about it. But that's where, again, like we said, marketing is information, not an end result.
Now, when it comes to frequency, and so this is another challenge, how often do you send out these email
Oh,
sequences
yes.
without bombarding the person or without, too infrequent that they forget about you? So there's like a
Right.
balance, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I think it's just as unique as our relationships, right? There are some couples who have healthy relationships and they actually have separate bedrooms. Like they're like happy, but they have separate rooms. But someone's like, oh, that's weird. And other ones who talk to each other all day. My husband and I work together. We have been together since the day we met because we met in Kung Fu training. We ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner for months together. We've been together. Some people would lose their mind if they did that. But it's the nature of the relationship that you have with them, how often you can show up, right? So, my first rule of thumb for any of you starting out is the best number is what you can commit to. That's the first
Hmm.
one. It's the best number you can commit to. Now, that's to get started. Okay. Yes. If you can only do once a month and that's the best you can commit to, then your focus right now is consistency. Your focus right now is in entrepreneurship. You're working on audience building, yes, but if once a month is all you can do, that's okay. We need to get you consistent. We need to get you in a system. So if that's all it is, then that's all it is. Best practices, depending on it still depends on your business. Do I need to hear from my dentist once a week? Probably not, right? Unless he's really good at it. I mean, man, there might be somebody who's really good and he can give me really great tips once a day that I enjoy. Maybe he's just that kind of guy or gal, right? Um, so there's that. Now there are people I know who have lists that they email every single day. I have one email. Yeah, yeah. Daily's it's kind of the Silicon Valley what's the thing biohacking of like business right now. It's like, oh, can you get to emails once a day? Wow. It's like the bros of business. Hopefully someone's laughing at that. But anyhow, but it can be done. I have one coach that I subscribe to and he sends daily emails. And they're quick and they always had to have the same kind of rhythm and flow. And he has a fun thing where he's always keeping tab of how many emails he's sent daily now. So you're kind of always interested in like, is he still going to show up today? But that's his thing. Seth Godin, right? Seth Godin, a prolific writer, I think has been doing daily blogs for some ridiculous amount of time. I think the most of any person written on the internet is he holds this like crazy title, right? So what I'm going to say without knowing your industry, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week. I'm also going to say it depends on your content. How long form or short form is it? How are you showing up? I show up with my clients at minimum twice a week, sometimes three times. Every Wednesday is what I call a value email, as I mentioned earlier. I want to make sure that regardless of what it is and how it is, it gives something tangible, actionable, that if nothing else, if they never work with me, they can never say that I'm not valuable to help their business. They don't have to work with me. If they're cheerleaders for me, this is another thing. If they're out there spreading the good word about what I do and how much I've helped them, even if they've never paid me, that's marketing. I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely 100%. Please share, do it. You don't need, that's okay. I get it, right? We all in different places in our life. So I do a value email, and then on Friday I do a thing called one quick thing. And guess how that goes? It's one quick thing. I give them one quick thing before the weekend, right? And then occasionally, if I have an announcement or something big, I'll show up on a Monday. Now, little last week, because different things going on, we sent it every day. I was very, very tactful about how I showed up because I know what my audience is used to. And I didn't want to overwhelm them. I know my open rates. I'm paying attention to that stuff. So I don't want to leave you. I know it's like, so it depends is the answer. Yes, it depends. If you're a coach or something like that, at minimum, I'm telling you once a week. But why are you showing up? And that's what I would tell you. In your industry, you're probably in it because you understand your audience or you understand a problem they have. If I'm a really busy executive, I might be annoyed as heck if I'm going to hear from you once a day, even if it's valuable. Look, I just don't have time, man. There's plenty of information and not enough. I mean, it's humanly impossible to watch every video on YouTube. You guys know that, right? Probably amazing stuff out there, but you won't ever watch every single one. So I say, instead of thinking about frequency, ask what do they need? The people you're supporting. An HR manager, what would they need? A woman who is, because I know some of you guys in here, a woman who is trying to figure out her next career path in life as she's wanting to, focus on herself. Somebody who is wanting to grow their audience. I know we have some marketers and stuff in here. What would help them if they got it through the week? How would you want to show up? Greg McKeown, he's the author of a book called Essentialism. If you haven't read it, highly, highly recommend it. Obviously, going into my simplicity ideas here. But his whole idea is what's essential. So what does he do? Every Wednesday, you have a 1 minute Wednesday. 1 minute, that's it. He stays true to his brand. I'm showing up real quick. Here's a couple things. I'm in, I'm out. What's essential? I'm gone. Maybe you know that there's particular seasons in the industry that are really tough for your target market. and you go, hey, I want to show up a little more, or let's make sure, you know what, the Wednesdays can get really tough for my target market. Let's show up on Wednesdays and give them a thing. Or they're really busy. Let's give them like a recap. What would help me 5 years ago in my inbox?
Mm.
That's one of my favorites. So when in doubt, I always say, we are our own audience 5 years ago.
That's a really good question, actually. I think about your own journey and what would have been useful to you at that time. Like I often think about that when I create content. And as soon as I learn the information, I'm like the first one to share it, on LinkedIn because I'm like, people need to know that I just discovered this thing and I want to share it with other people. Yeah. But
I
yeah, with that said, thank you to Tanya for spending uh, this hour with me and with us here in our LinkedIn community. And like I said, she's one of the most generous people, as you heard here today. She was very generous with her answers. So thank you guys, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Please take care, and yeah, follow Tanya. Okay,
all right,
take care.
thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.